Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be my official birth story. So I do have a labor and delivery vlog, but I just wanted to go ahead and talk to you guys about what was going on behind the scenes and some of the conversations because they were super funny, and how he got the nickname of the Star Wars baby at the hospital. If you guys are new to my channel, my name is Tiffany. This is our baby boy Ezra. He was born May 4th at 12:07 a.m. I don't know if I can get him into the frame and me in the frame. There we go, so you guys can see him a little bit better. So May 4th is always our due date, and my husband is a huge Star Wars fan, so if you guys are unaware, May 4th is known as Star Wars Day, or May the 4th be with you. It's like a pun. He was super excited and from the beginning joked with me that I could not have this baby early. Our daughter came an hour before her due date, so her due date was August 31st and she was born August 30th at 11 p.m. and so I had made jokes that he was going to be the same exact way and like how upset would my husband be if like he was an hour before Star Wars Day. So on I almost said August, May 1st, my husband had his first day off of leave, so he is on paternity leave for the first 6 weeks with me, which is something he did not do with our daughter. So on May 2nd, my in-laws came into town because they live out of state now, and so they wanted to be able to bond with the baby and just spend time with Aria and help us out as much as possible, which they were a wonderful help. So the night of the 2nd, around 10 p.m., I started feeling light contractions, and they were every like 10 to 15 minutes apart. I have been tracking contractions for the last hour. So far they're averaging like 45 seconds each, and they're about 20 minutes apart. So it was nothing that was like too alarming to where I needed to call or like notify anyone that, you know, I was going through contractions. I could tell it was like very early stages of labor. They lasted for a couple of hours and then I was able to go to sleep, but then at 4 a.m., which is super funny because at 4 a.m. with my daughter is when contractions started with her. So 4 a.m. on the 3rd, I had contractions and I was like, oh my gosh, it was a joke that he would be born an hour before his due date, but now like things are kind of lining up at the same exact time of my daughter, and it may not be a joke anymore. So I was trying to sleep through them. Eric could hear, you know, me like toss and turn in the middle of the night. I was able to go back to sleep because they lasted for a few hours, and then I went back to sleep and woke up around, I want to say like 8 or 9, because we were having Orkin come and spray our home for fleas, because unfortunately we found fleas on our cat and we just didn't want that around the baby or anything, so we were trying to take care of it. On the phone, the lady told us when they come to spray, we'd have to leave the house for about 2 hours just to make sure, obviously, the chemicals had time to dry and things like that, but it was safe, you know, to be around kids once everything was aired out and dried. So we're like, okay. The guy gets here like right before 11, lets us know he's gonna spray, and we would need to leave the house for 4 hours. Mind you, at this point, I had just lost my mucus plug and I was a little worried because an hour before with Aria, like my water breaking, I lost like all of my mucus plug. So I'm like, okay, just lost my mucus plug. We have to be gone for 4 hours now. Like, what do we do? And my contractions are starting to come back. It was already a stressful time with like us having to leave the home and everything else, but I did not want to like concern anybody until like I absolutely had to. So I don't tell anyone like I'm feeling contractions and that they're getting consistent. We just go out to lunch. So at lunch, I decided to order like a Cajun dish. It was so good. It had like hot links with some Cajun shrimp and it was like this pasta dish from Johnny Garlic, and probably shouldn't have done that because spicy food is like known to induce or trigger like contractions and labor. So we're sitting at at lunch, and we have about like an hour and a half left before we can go home. So we decided to walk around like the outside mall that we were at, and I'm now having contractions that are a little above mild every 7 minutes. And again, I'm not telling anyone, I'm talking through it, I'm walking through it, I'm really trying to like hold out. I don't want to concern people, you know, because we can't go home and there's nothing we can do. We did put my hospital bag in the car before we left though, just in case. So we could have went to the hospital if we absolutely needed to, but I already knew that if they're not 5 minutes apart, the hospital will most likely just send you home. So I'm just trying to like push through it. So finally around like 3:30, I told Eric I had to go to the bathroom. Like we're still walking around. So we like find the nearest bathroom. As we're like walking back to the store, I was like, I can't do this. Like we need to go home. I knew we were kind of early. Technically we couldn't go home until 3:45. By the time we got home, we were fine. I'm like on the verge of tears now, and Aria starts like acting up. She wants me to pick her up and I can't. And so she's like throwing a tantrum, and like, because I'm in pain, it's just, I'm like crying at this point. We're having a moment with Aria. I was like carrying Aria right now and I probably shouldn't have, and so the cramping like will not stop. We have like 8 hours until his due date, so I'm hoping we can at least hold out for the next 8 hours. Finally get home, I go upstairs and I try to like take a nap. Around 4:30, I used the restroom, I lost more of my mucus plug, and cramping started to like intensify. So I decided to take a bath, thinking like an Epsom salt bath should help, because if you're having Braxton Hicks, most likely if you take like a shower or a bath, they'll kind of like subside or stop, but it also can trigger labor to go faster. So it's like a risk that I was going to take, but I just like sitting in the water just kind of like helped. And I'm having contractions like in the bath. Eric is now upstairs with me asking if I'm okay, you know, and he's kind of like timing the contractions since I'm in the tub. I sit in the tub for no more than 15 minutes because it starts to get uncomfortable. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna like sleep it off. Like I just need to sleep. Around 6 o'clock, I call Eric back upstairs and he's like watching me on the baby monitor just to make sure like I'm okay, but I needed water. And so he comes back upstairs and he's noticing my contractions now are every like 5.5 minutes apart. So he asks if I want like him to call the hospital. I tell him no, because I already know that they're gonna like send me home. My water hasn't broke yet. And with Aria, like my water broke first, and so I'm thinking it's gonna happen the same way. Like my water's gonna break first and then like I'll go through a couple hours and have labor, because she was a 4-hour labor after my water broke. I don't really know when to count labor as like starting. Some people say when your water breaks, some people say like once you're at like every 5 minutes apart or 4 centimeters. I don't know. I just know with Aria, my water broke, 4 hours later I had a baby. With him, I'm like, okay, it's gonna be like the same thing, right? Eric is like adamant, he wants me to at least call. And so I told him if it happens again within the 5 minutes, like we'll call. So I had another one, so he called. They talked to me and basically told me to wait since they just started being 5 minutes apart. They wanted to see if I can wait at least an hour before I came into labor a little bit more at home. So I was like, okay. So now we're going on 7 and my water still has not broken. Now contractions are closer to 3 minutes apart. I'm walking around downstairs now. I finally get off the bed, and walking really did help. So we headed to the hospital. We get there. I literally like walk from the car, like to the hospital, all the way upstairs to labor and delivery. Like I'm just walking the whole time. They put me in triage just to like check in on me, but 3 other people like came in at the same time, or like right after me. One lady was just like in extreme pain, so they went and helped her. So I'm just like waiting in triage for them to come back and check me.
How you feeling?
Okay.
Yeah? 3.5 hours.
Will we make it?
Okay, baby boy. Are you ready?
So it's like 8:30 and they check and I'm at 7 centimeters. And so she was just like, you're doing really well for being at 7 centimeters. I was like 7.5, almost 8. And so they're just like, okay, well, we're gonna put you in a room now. So another nurse came in and it was so funny. She was just like, are we gonna like wheelchair? And I typically, I don't like wheelchairs. Like if I can walk, I'll walk. So they were just like, oh, well, she's going all natural. And the nurse was just like, oh, you can get up and walk then. And so like they helped me off the bed. They were nice. It was like she was joking. And so like I walked down the hall because I'm in the last room. They put me in there and we're just waiting. And so we like met our midwife that would be delivering. And so she says, just let me know when you want to have a baby. And so Eric jokes and goes, can we wait till midnight? Because mind you, we're still on May 3rd and it's now like almost 9 or just after 9. And so she was like, I don't think your wife's gonna hold out to like 10. They're like, all we're waiting for is this water to break and she's gonna have a baby. So at this point, I'm kind of like, I just want this baby out of me because again, I have no medication. They let me know that with him, because I already had a fast labor for my first, and because we're literally just waiting for my water to break, they believed it was gonna be a super fast like delivery with him as well. Using the IV and the fentanyl could have caused complications, there was a risk of his like heart rate dropping. And so as soon as I heard that there could be complications if I like did the IV, I knew right away that's not something I wanted to do. Obviously having a healthy baby was like my #1 priority. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm already at a 7 and I'm able to breathe through them. They're not that bad. Like, I don't think I need anything. We get to 10 o'clock and everyone's still shocked that I'm still pregnant and my water still is not broke. So around 10:30, she comes back in to check on me to see how I'm doing and just says, you know, basically if it gets to be too much, I know you're trying to let your water break naturally, but if the pain is too much, let me know and we'll break your water for you, or we can talk about other like pain management options. And so I said, okay. Now half of our staff is Star Wars fans and wants us to have a Star Wars baby. Other half who's helping us out just wants me to have a baby because there's 3 other women who are all like trying to have babies at the same time. Like right before 11, and I like looked at Eric and I was just like, I'm sorry, I don't think you're gonna get your Star Wars baby. And he was just like, that's not important. Like, what's important is that you're okay. And so I was like, okay. And then I get like, I don't know, Superwoman comes over me just after 11 o'clock. And I'm like, you know what? We have less than an hour before midnight. My water still has not broken. Like, no, we're having a Star Wars baby. Like, we've come too far now. This joke is going to be turned into something serious. She comes back in to check on me around like 11:15 and says, okay, what do you want us to do? Do you want us, because they still haven't checked my cervix. At this point, like, I'm trying not to walk around. I'm trying not to stimulate anything from happening because now I'm holding out to have this midnight baby. So she basically just tells me, you know, I haven't been checked and I need to be. So they're giving me till midnight. If my water does not break by midnight, they're going to break my water for me. And I said, okay, that's fair. And I asked them, please don't do another cervix check until you absolutely have to. So we're waiting till midnight. And one, I hate getting cervix checks. They hurt. And so if I could like minimize that as much as possible throughout like laboring, I wanted to, especially because I was already at a 7. So I'm pretty sure at this point I'm closer to a 10 and I just didn't feel like I needed to be checked so often. I'm like watching the clock now. It's like down to the last like 10 minutes. And in my mind, I'm like, you know what? I could probably call them in and have them like pop my water and I could probably still deliver by midnight. Cause now it's just like, it's hurting and it's like, I'm starting to curse instead of breathe through the contraction. My body is starting to naturally push. I can feel like pressure, like the baby wants to come. I'm like watching and I'm counting down and now we're like 11:57. We're like 3 minutes out. I'm just like, okay, we can do this. And so it gets to be 12 and I looked at the clock, I looked at the door and I'm expecting like the team to like come in right when like 12 o'clock hits, like Cinderella status. And I look at Eric and I was just like, all right, where are these bitches at? Like I was just done. I was ready to have this baby. It was midnight. We made it to May 4th and I wanted to deliver. So they came in around 12:04 and literally they walked in and my water broke. Like it was so crazy that it just happened naturally and they had like prepped and they're ready to like pop my water. They came in with all the equipment and I was just like, my water broke. Oh, my water broke. Okay. So everyone's like, okay, like they're super excited. Midwife obviously needs to check my cervix to make sure like I'm dilated all the way, but I had like the longest contraction ever after my water broke. She's like, okay, I'm just gonna check you. I'm pretty sure you're ready. And so she lets me know that there was still a little bit of cervix left, but I could basically just push through it. And so I'm like not pushing for some reason, but my body doesn't have to. And she was like, whenever you're ready, like you can push. And I was like, okay. Water broke at 12:04. Had baby boy at 12:07. It was a 3-minute like had a baby. During those 3 minutes, I could have sworn like I felt like I was ripping like in half because I didn't have any type of pain meds. And with Aria, like I had the fentanyl 10 minutes before I started pushing. Like they gave it to me at 10:50 and then I had her at 11 o'clock. So it was just like I didn't really feel anything and I was kind of in and out when it came to like Aria. Oh, with him being able to like feel everything, one, I was glad because I was able to like push when I needed to. Like they tell you not to push unless there's a contraction happening, so I could feel like when there was contractions, so I wasn't like just pushing to push a baby out. I was, you know, pushing because I needed to, and I was like letting my body do it. I don't know, it was such a different experience. Like if you've had an unmedicated birth before, like you know like how control of your body you are in. if that made sense. So yeah, after we had pushed him out, they immediately like laid him on my chest, which again with Aria, I couldn't handle it. I was so exhausted and just was in so much pain. I asked them to take her like 3 minutes later. I was just like, I couldn't physically hold her. Like it was so bad. So I was so excited that I was able to like hold him, and I was so alert, and I was worried while I was pushing, like mind you, I felt everything, and I was like, okay, I felt like I was on fire for one, and just the sensation of like, I felt like I was ripping in half. I was like, I'm gonna need so many stitches. Like I already knew, because with Aria I needed 9 because I had a 2nd degree tear. She's like, you're good. And I was like, what? And she's like, you barely have like the smallest little cut, and it'll heal on its own. Like I can't even classify this as a 1st degree tear. Like you're good, you need no stitches. And I was like, oh, thank you. Like I was so excited I needed no stitches. They had me on a saline drip the whole time to make sure I didn't like dehydrate. And so as soon as the saline bag was done, like they unhooked me, so I didn't need any other medication like Pitocin, which Pitocin hurts so bad. So yeah, I didn't need any of that. Like bleeding was at a minimal. Felt so good. I was so excited. So we got our golden hour with him. He latched within the first like 30 minutes, and he's literally like held his head up from birth. Like it was the craziest thing ever. Like they hand him to me and he's like lifting his head already. So he was born officially at 12:07 a.m. on May 4th. He weighed 7 pounds 9 ounces and was 19 inches long. So he was the same exact length as Aria. He was just 3 ounces heavier than Aria. I'm not sure what his head circumference was. I thought they said 24. But we went to his 2-week appointment, and she was like showing me his growth curve, and like his head circumference was only at a 14 believe inches. So I'm pretty sure it was 12 inches the first time. But yeah, he was like absolutely perfect. My labor was absolutely like how I like wanted it. Like I don't know, it was just like so much better than with my first, and I was way more prepared. So I do have a video like tips and like secrets that I did throughout my pregnancy to really prepare and help, but it just came down to like I was more mentally prepared this time, and like I knew like what went wrong the first time and what like not to do the second time, and recovery has been amazing for me. I was able to go home the same day, and that was amazing, because with Aria I had to be there for 36 hours. I mean, the hospital's great, the staff was amazing, they were all so excited. I just knew we would get more rest if we went home. So as we're like leaving the hospital, the ladies like help us out. Like I didn't obviously use a wheelchair at that point, they wouldn't let me walk, so we're waiting for Eric to like drive the car around, and so we're talking, and so I told her something and it triggered it, and she was like, is this the Star Wars baby? And it was like, what? And she goes, it's all over his chart, like what's his name? And so I said it's Ezra, and she goes, yeah, he's the Star Wars baby, he's the May 4th baby. So he was the first baby born that day at that hospital, and I guess on his chart they had marked him as the Star Wars baby because of like that little joke Eric had made in the beginning of like, we want to wait till midnight, and like I said, half of the people who were helping us on staff, they were Star Wars fans, and so they like dubbed him the Star Wars baby. So I thought that was super cool, especially because if you guys have been following us, you know like all of our themes have been Star Wars themed. So but overall it was a really good experience, and I was gonna say I had a lot of fun. I mean, I didn't have a lot of fun, but I'm happy with the way it went. But if you have any questions for me that I didn't like really go over, or didn't go over in any of my other videos or vlogs, let me know in the comment section below. If you're new and you want to join our family to see kind of day in the life vlogs and routines with a newborn and a toddler, don't forget to hit that red subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss any of our new videos. But as always guys, we love you, and we will see you in my next video.